Lanka is a tropical island rich in natural beauty, with miles of palm-fringed sandy beaches, spectacular tea plantations, cool and misty hill countries, with thick jungles teeming with wildlife, and ancient mystical cities with incredible beautiful temples. A country that is steeped in culture and tradition, a place that Marco Polo once described as the most beautiful island of its size in the world. I'm Michael Murphy, and this is Destination Unknown, Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is a relatively small country, measuring 270 kilometers north to south and 140 east to west. But don't let its small size fool you. Even a trip of only 100 kilometers can take up to 3 or 4 hours. So your choice of transportation will depend on your budget and the time you have to explore Sri Lanka. There's several different ways to get around Sri Lanka. You can rent a bike and ride through the countryside, take a tuk-tuk, or you can rent a moped and literally take your life into your own hands. For longer distances, the best way to get around Sri Lanka if you're on a budget is to take a government red bus or a local white bus. Either one of these are cheap, but they also come with a caution, as these drivers seem to have no regard for the laws of the road. Another great way to explore Sri Lanka is by train. The tickets are cheap, and it's a great way to sit back and just relax and watch the countryside roll by you as you enjoy a little bit of old Sri Lanka. Personally, the best way I found to get around was to hire a private car with a driver, and let him deal with the mayhem on the road. But no matter what form of transportation you use, remember, just take your time, sit back, and enjoy the ride. As I begin my journey here in Sri Lanka, I've now made my way to the Cultural Triangle. And this is the perfect place to really get an introduction into Sri Lanka, its history, the beauty this country possesses. Right now I'm here early in the morning, there's no one here, and I pretty much have this place to myself. This is one of the things that I can't say enough, is try to get here very early in the morning or late afternoon so you're not getting depressed by the heat of the day, and you get to see the grandeur that is Sri Lanka. Another thing to consider when traveling to any of the ancient cities. These places are not just for tourists, they're also a place where the locals make the pilgrimages to pay their respect to their history and culture, and along the way seek out a little guidance of their past, present, and future. We're here at Polonnaruwa, and this was the second ancient capital of Sri Lanka. They lived here about 300 years before this city was abandoned. And the one thing I'm really starting to notice here in this cultural triangle of Sri Lanka is just the time and effort that went into building each of these ancient cities really is just incredible. Walking around these ancient cities, one of the things that always comes to mind to me, especially as a carpenter, is how did they build these things? And as you can see, literally, there's just cracks in between this, how they cut this. It's very much the same as in Cusco and other parts of the world where I've seen these ancient ruins. And it makes you stop and wonder, was there a common denominator amongst all of these ancient people for the technology that they had to actually build these ruins? Continuing my tour here in the Cultural Triangle, I'm now at Sigiriya. This area was abandoned about 1,000 years ago, and what you see today is the beautiful manicured gardens, the pools, but the main reason I came here was to climb this mountain behind me that will give me a view overlooking the surrounding area. Walking around here in Sigiriya, everywhere you're going to notice immediately is no matter what you do, you're continuously going up steps. But with each step you take, it gets you higher and higher. And one of the things I always like to do when I'm traveling is to get as high as I can. It was a little expensive getting into this park. It cost about 30 bucks. But how do you put a price on ancient history?
Well, I'm now making my way up Sigiriya, and I've got about a third of the way up the mountain right now. And as you can see behind me, this is what all of the rocks throughout this whole area would have looked like. These pictures are over 1,600 years old. Unfortunately, when the monks came in here, the Buddhist monks came in here, they didn't like the big breasts, so they tried to tear them all down. Fortunately, some of them still existed, but you could just only imagine how beautiful this rock must have looked like when it was sculpted and painted with all of these beautiful murals. One of the things you can never predict when you're in a place like Sri Lanka is the weather, and it's actually clouding over right now and starting to rain. Okay, well, unfortunately it is absolutely pouring rain here right now, but me being me, I cannot give up my dream of making it to the top of this mountain. So right now, I am going to climb up there, up these steps you see behind me. Hopefully, that when I get to the top, it stops raining, but it doesn't look like it right now. But regardless of anything, I got to get to the top and know that I did make it. Wish myself good luck traveling on.
As I made my way to the top of Sigiriya, the skies cleared for a brief moment, and I was rewarded with a stunning view of the surrounding area, proving to myself once again that the little bit of extra effort I put out to get myself on top was well worth the reward.
While you're traveling in Sri Lanka, eventually you're going to wind up here in Kandy. Kandy is the last of the ancient historical cities in Sri Lanka, and at 1,500 meters is a great place to come and spend a couple of days. But the thing I like about Kandy the most is that even though it's a city, it's got a very nice feel to it. It doesn't have the hustle and bustle of Colombo, so it's a pretty good place to come and just relax and walk around and enjoy the ambiance.
How are you?
Very
Welcome
good.
to Sri Lanka.
It's 5:30 in the evening here in Kandy, and because I'm literally doing a whirlwind trip here in Sri Lanka, I only had 2 weeks. I'm only going to spend literally an afternoon here, and I could say this, Kandy is definitely worth a little bit more time. The best part about being here in Kandy is the climate here is perfect, and I'm not exaggerating. It's about 22 degrees right now, nice slight breeze, and after the heat that we've been dealing with inland the last couple of days, this is a very nice reprieve, and you can see why the English chose this as a spot for them to escape the heat of Colombo and the rest of Sri Lanka.
I can honestly say, Kandy is sweet.
One of the things here in Sri Lanka is there's the 4 main archaeological sites, but also too, do not forget to visit some of the smaller ones. I'm at Yapawa, which was built there in the 3rd century. And as you can see behind me, this leads up to a mountain that I'm going to go to get a look over all of Sri Lanka. And this is one of the things I'm always talking about when you come to a place like Sri Lanka. And it also helps when you have a guide that can point these special places out, is when you look a little deeper, you always find the gems.
Now we are in Yapawa. This was a capital in 3rd century AD, King Buenakabahu, who ruled the country from this place for 13 years. Now we are going to climb the rock to Trilik, a shrine room. Later we can see on the halfway to granite rock.
Making my way up the last steps of Yapawa, and I'm going to tell you right now, the view from up here is epic. It's definitely worth the climb up here, and this is one of those little secret gems that without Bandar, I would have never found this place. If you're going to come to Sri Lanka, you can do this on your own. You can do it cheap if you want, but it's costing us about $50 a day for a driver. But he's not only a driver, he's an incredible guide, and he brought me to this place, and if it wasn't for him, I would not have seen it. Thank you, my dog.
Welcome, sir.
Love this guy. When I began my journey 3 days ago here in the Cultural Triangle, I really wasn't sure what to expect. My friends had compared this place to Angkor Wat in Cambodia or Bagan in Burma, and those are very, very special places to me, so I wasn't quite sure how they would measure up. Well, I can safely say now that this area of the Cultural Triangle of Sri Lanka is just as beautiful as any of these other places. I cannot say it enough, once again, of how beautiful this area was, and anyone coming to Sri Lanka, this has to definitely be at the top of your list. And with that, my friends, it's time for me to continue on with my journeys. And until next time we meet, as always, travel on. I'm making my way to Adams Peak right now, but we're passing through what is known as the tea region. We've been driving about 5 or 6 hours today, going through just countless rolling hills of tea. Behind me is where all of the people that are collecting the tea leaves are coming to have it weighed and figure out how much they brought in for the day. It takes around 2,000 leaves to make a kilo, and they want them to collect about 18 kilos a day, so you do the math. It's actually a lot of work, and it gives you a whole new perspective when you're drinking a cup of tea. I'm going to go over here and get some shots of this. It's just so colorful and absolutely breathtaking out right now, and I cannot tell you enough of how much Sri Lanka has blown me away. Literally every corner we turn around is another beautiful sight. Well, now I'm Lanala Tayani, and I am here to do something that I was hoping to do from the very beginning of this trip, and that is to climb Adams Peak. Adams Peak is kind of like Jerusalem in a lot of ways, is that every religion has a claim for some special sacred religious reasons. Whether it's Buddhism, Hinduism, Muslims, or Christians, everybody has their story of what Adams Peak means to them. So every year you have a time between basically December and March and April where you begin a pilgrimage up to the top. Thousands of people do this, and there's a few enough crazy foreigners like myself that give it a try. And tonight I'm going to make my way up starting at about 1 o'clock. Hopefully make it to the top. My reward will be a beautiful sunrise over Sri Lanka. I cannot say it enough of how spectacular Sri Lanka is. Travel on. Well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I am now getting ready to start my trek up to the top of Adams Peak. Really, for me, this is one of the main reasons I came to Sri Lanka, was to climb this mountain, so it's definitely time to travel on. Well, as you're walking up to the peak, literally almost around every other corner, you're going to find amazing things like this. One of the things with this is this pilgrimage. It's one of those things that it doesn't matter your faith, it matters what you feel inside when you're up here. And that's the thing with the journey, like climbing to the top of Adams Peak. It's an individual journey. One thing, as you're making your way up to the top of Adams Peak, if you're wondering if you need to bring supplies, well, the answer is no. You literally can buy pretty much anything you need along the trek: water, biscuits, crackers, so you can loosen your load going up to the top. Now I'm going to turn around and keep making my way up. Literally, you're starting to feel the altitude a little bit and these steps. I can't even begin to explain to you how steep this is again. It just keeps getting steeper and steeper. Just when you think it can level out, it doesn't. I literally got about 50 local Sri Lankans up ahead of me chanting right now. But probably about 45 minutes from the top. Just gonna keep plugging and enjoying this climb. I just got to the top of Adams Peak. Really, that was a really tough climb. Took me about 2.5 hours, but definitely would recommend bring lots of water and be prepared to have your calves and your thighs burn. Now I'm gonna make my way up to the top temple, find myself to kick back, throw a blanket over me, and get a couple hours sleep. I cannot wait for the sunrise over Sri Lanka. Well, it's 5:45 in the morning on top of Adams Peak, and as you can see up behind me, there are just literally about 300 people up here doing the same crazy thing I'm doing and getting up to watch the sunrise from Adams Peak. Climbing up to Adams Peak, you feel you're tired, your legs hurt, and you're wondering why you do it, well, believe me, when I saw that sunrise this morning, I realized why I do it. People used to always ask me, what is it that you're out there looking for? And honestly, I didn't know. But as the years have gone on, I've really learned that I'm looking for those places that make me feel that power, that spirituality that you get in a place like Adams Peak. It really was an amazing sunrise this morning, and I'm going to make my way literally all the way back down there into the village. It really is beautiful here. It's a lovely morning, and it's just a perfect way to start my day here on Adams Peak in Sri Lanka. This is one of those things when you're traveling that you don't expect. My guide Bandar has brought me to his home village, and today is the weekend market here. Right now I think the coolest part about being in this market is this is not for tourists. This is strictly 100% a local market. When you come to a market like this and you start walking around and you start meeting with all the local people, this is when the fun begins. I have to say I enjoy it when I go somewhere and there is no other tourists there, that you're experiencing this as a local. And essentially for me, that is the most important part of travel, is when you embrace the local places, their customs, their way of life. That's when you really start to feel the pulse of a nation. It's one of the things, when you embrace the local culture, the local people, you get rewarded to wind up in beautiful spots like this. Well, we're now at Bandar's family home, and as you can see behind me, his lovely wife and his beautiful daughter are now making us a really beautiful lunch. And I have to say something, if you get any kind of a chance in Sri Lanka to come spend some time with one of the local families, I have to highly recommend it. This is like one of those experiences that you cannot get unless you step off the beaten track. I cannot thank Bandar enough for opening up his home, sharing his knowledge of his country, and literally giving me an experience in Sri Lanka that I will not soon forget. As I'm continuing my journeys here in Sri Lanka, I've now made my way to Yala National Park. This park was founded in 1938 and it really is one of the crown jewels of the Sri Lankan National Park system.
Actually, we have a very beautiful real nature in Sri Lanka. We can see there are a lot of birds. Let's try to see some wild elephant.
The biggest difference between a safari here and say a safari in Africa here is you're not going to see the big five and you're not going to have the savanna desert, but what you are going to have, as you can see behind me, is this beautiful lush green forest with water holes everywhere. There's an abundance of bird life here, more than I've seen anywhere else in Sri Lanka. But more important than anything, I think the thing about a place like this is that there is a natural beauty here that highlights what Sri Lanka for me is all about, and that is the nature that this country possesses.
We always try to make happy in our foreigners, because sometimes they come to a very long distance from to Sri Lanka. Actually, traveling is not easy to come to this place. Actually, our all guides, they always try to help to them to spend a nice journey in our country.
Over the last week, I got to travel through some of the most popular spots in Sri Lanka. And thanks to Badar, I also got to learn about Sri Lanka's culture, its people, and the incredible beauty to be found all around this country. And now it's time to say goodbye to Badar as I head off on my own to the beaches of southern Sri Lanka.
I can't help but sometimes feel how incredibly fortunate I am to go to the places I go to. And sometimes I don't even believe it myself. I'm now on Marissa Beach in Sri Lanka. And after traveling all over Sri Lanka the last several days, this is the perfect place for me to come and end my trip here in Sri Lanka. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. One of the reasons I always try to get up early in the morning in places like Sri Lanka is to come see how the locals begin their day. It is so beautiful here, and I'm just going to sit up here on this hill and watch the sunrise and begin my day here on Marissa Beach in Sri Lanka.
The first thing you have to do after arriving at Marissa and realizing yes, you did just discover paradise is to find yourself somewhere to stay. You'll find a wide range of accommodation all up and down the beach, from a backpacker's bungalow to the mid-range Coral Beach guest house, located directly in front of the only surf point break in Marissa. This right break is perfect for beginners or intermediate surfers, and even if you don't surf, it's still a great place to hang out and just relax. Or if you're feeling like a little bit of luxury, you can stay at the only 5-star boutique hotel on Marissa Beach. Number 1, Marissa. With its friendly staff, this boutique hotel offers 8 spacious suites. It's situated on a half-acre of beautifully manicured grounds. Each room is beautifully appointed with a 4-poster bed and mosquito net, and all of the rooms are equipped with modern bathrooms, flat-screen TVs, and Wi-Fi. The best part about all of these rooms is the stunning panoramic view of the beaches and the bays beyond. After you get checked in, all that's left to do is to find a hammock that you can lounge around in, or make your way down to the crystal-lined Affinity swimming pool that offers another stunning view of Marissa Beach. No matter where you wind up staying, you'll find paradise waiting for you right outside your front door.
I'm continuing my journey here at Marissa, Sri Lanka, and I have to keep saying it gets better and better. I've literally just hiked all the way along the coastline up here to this Buddhist temple that you see behind me. And I'm not kidding, there is not one other foreigner up here. And once again, this is the beauty of getting off the beaten track and searching out those destinations unknown. I'm standing on top of this hillside overlooking all of Marissa. I'm seeing life in Sri Lanka not as a tourist, but as a traveler. And I think that's the most important thing. When you come to these places, it isn't just lounging around on the beaches. It's literally taking 3 or 4 steps to get yourself lost, make lefts and rights, and when you do, you're rewarded to wind up in very magical spots like I'm standing right now.
As I was enjoying my last moments on Marissa Beach, I found myself reflecting back on the amazing time I had here in the island nation of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka truly is an incredible country, and if you've ever thought about traveling here, now is the time, and it definitely comes with my highest recommendations. And with that, my friends, I'll bid you a farewell as Destination Unknown wraps up another incredible adventure here in Sri Lanka. And until we meet again, as always, travel on.